vote. Did Ed Rollins really do it? And is it business as usual in big-time politics? Plus, you know him as suave Remington Steele. Now, Pierce Brosnan shares the screen with cut-up Robin Williams in Mrs. Doubtfire. Now, here's Larry King.
Good evening from New York. Republican political wizard Ed Rollins will go under oath by order of a judge to be quizzed by Democrats about his election-winning tactics in New Jersey. Rollins says he's anxious to get the story out, but many say one of the country's best-known political fixers, a frequent guest on Larry King Live, has destroyed himself. Talk about snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. Republicans were savoring Christy Todd Whitman's win in the New Jersey governor's race when campaign manager Rollins casually dropped a bombshell. He told reporters the GOP paid to suppress New Jersey's black vote. Is it true? Could it be done? If so, is there anything wrong with doing it? With us from Chicago is Jim Andrews. He managed the losing campaign of Democratic Governor Jim Florio. Here in New York is David Norcross, a New Jersey Republican committeeman who is also general counsel for the Republican National Committee in Washington. And in Washington is Thomas Edsall, reporter for the Washington Post, who was there when Ed Rollins talked. Rollins himself remains in seclusion tonight. Tom, what was the occasion? What was the breakfast for? What was going on?
This was a regular, we have a Sperling breakfast. It's sponsored by the Christian Science Monitor, a guy named Godfrey Sperling. There are about 20-odd reporters meet regularly 2-3 times a week, and they have political, cabinet, all different kinds of people in. It's all on the record, and Ed came in to talk both about your debate that you held with Gore and Perot and about the New Jersey election. Totally on his own, with really no prompting from us. We can take no real credit for it. He suddenly said, here's how I won, guys, and he dropped this whole thing.
Ed had a bad week, didn't he, Tom, because he predicted that Perot would whip Gore.
It was not a good week at all for Ed. It's been a tough 2 years for the guy. He had one moment of glory, and now it's blown out the wind.
When he said it, Tom, and I guess he's saying it to old friends, reporters casually talking about a campaign, were you shocked?
Well, it took a little while to sink in. It smelled like a story right away, and Ed got a little nervous himself. But the ramifications of what he was saying took all day to really go in. I tell you, back at work, I was writing this on my computer, and the editor sort of saw this story coming, and it moved literally from the page, about page 5 to page 2, on to page 1 by the end of the day. Yeah.
Why do you think he said it?
I think that here's a guy who had been hammered and hammered. He'd been with Perot. It was a horror show. He went with Christine Todd Whitman. It looked like it was going to be a loser, and this guy, James Carville, Honcho, was going to beat him. The whole Clinton machine was going to beat him. Suddenly, he comes up for air, and he's won. And he thinks this is the greatest thing. I got to tell people, what did I do? I beat the Democrats at their own game. And he just said too much.
Ed, you know him a long time, Tom?
I've dealt with him for a good, close to 15 years. I like the guy, I got to say.
There's two stories going around. It's the truth, and he told you the truth, or he was bragging to make a good day even better.
I think there is some... Ed is a guy who's a straight head-up. Among political consultants, in my opinion, he is a more head-on, straight-up guy than you're going to meet. A lot of them are not gems of honesty. Ed is a guy who has a sense of commitment to the truth, and I think there is at least some truth in this. I would bet a little bit on this, the way he first described this as being at least 60% true.
All right, David, Republican National Committeeman from New Jersey. When you heard the story, you know Ed Rollins.
I know Ed well. I've known him for not quite as long as Tom, probably 10 years.
Have you talked to him since this broke?
I have not.
Okay. When it broke, give me your feelings.
Well, it broke on the alarm at 6:30 Wednesday morning. That's literally the first thing I heard when I woke up.
Morning after the debate?
Morning after the debate, which was what I was thinking about. That and savoring a good win. I frankly, at that time, thought that Ed had overtold his story. At one time in my political career, I was the executive director of the New Jersey Election Law Enforcement Commission. I know what elections are like in New Jersey. We are virtually a public utility. Your books are open. You can't hide $500,000. And I knew enough about that campaign to know that spending $500,000 on a cockamamie project like that was crazy.
And what did you make of it?
I made of it Ed Rollins telling a big story. I mean, he had a great day. I had talked to Ed about what a great day he had. He oversold it.
In other words, he got a boost and he wanted more of it.
Yep.
Okay. Jim Andrews, campaign manager for Jim Florio. Where were you when you heard the story?
Actually, I was in Washington, but it's important to point out that Ed Rollins was the third senior Whitman campaign official to talk about vote suppression. The first one was Carl Golden, her press secretary, on election night, where he said that vote suppression is as important as vote getting, when he was talking about the suppression of the vote in Essex and Hudson counties. The second senior Whitman campaign official to talk about it was 2 days later, was her brother, Dan Todd, who talked about vote suppression and keeping the vote light in certain areas. Ed Rollins was, and frankly, none of us caught either one of those comments, but they're both on the record. The third comment was actually Ed Rollins' comment, which was in very, very graphic detail. And in point of fact, either these gentlemen all had a collective fantasy for a week, or something actually was going on there, because they all used the term vote suppression, and it was going, and they talked about it over a 7-day period in 3 different places.
Well, now, you managed Jim's campaign, Governor Florio's campaign. David says you can't hide $500,000.
Well,
I guess, would you agree with that?
Well, I mean, the fact of the matter is most bank robbers get caught, but occasionally some of them get away, and it's very possible that that this kind of money was spent out there out of third party sources without our knowledge.
So in other words, and it could have been done without David's knowledge.
Could have been.
Could have been done without the governor-elect's knowledge.
I have no idea. It would be interesting that her press secretary, her brother, and her campaign manager are all on the record talking about voter suppression, and she not know anything about it.
David?
Larry, I think it's unlikely that $500,000 got spent on this effort by anybody without some of us knowing about it. I don't think there is a chance in the world that $500,000 went into that New Jersey election and the Democrats did not know it was going in before Election Day or on Election Day.
But
bear in mind,
let him finish, Jim.
Bear in mind, we have expenditure limits in a New Jersey race, which is it's about $5.7 million for each of those candidates. It would be absolutely ridiculous, A, to spend that kind of money on this project, and B, for that money to be on the street without the Democrats knowing it in advance. It's easy to see why Carl's story went by and Danny's, because what was suppressed was Jim Florio's plurality in the cities of New Jersey, where you can argue that Christie Whitman won this race.
Well, they used specifically the words vote suppression, the same words that Ed Rollins used. So it wasn't just Ed Rollins, it was 3 of them. And in fact, it's a $5.9 million cap. And if in fact somebody did spend a substantial amount of money on the streets off the books, that would be a violation of New Jersey election law, and the election would be voided.
Are you asking it to be voided?
We're not. We're asking it to be investigated.
We'll come back in a minute. We'll get more comments. We'll also be hearing from one of the pastors in New Jersey, and we'll be including your phone calls. Pierce Brosnan still to come. Tomorrow night, Billy Joel, and we'll also be commenting on or counting the NAFTA votes with you. Sunday night, our JFK special on TNT. It's at 8 o'clock Eastern. It's titled The Larry King TNT Special, Where Were You? It features 40 or so prominent people from all walks of life telling us where they were on November 22nd, 1963. We'll get your calls as well, and among those in studio, Harry Belafonte. Don't go away.
But the type of activity that Mr. Rollins was talking about is reprehensible and would never, ever be sanctioned, nor would the Republican Party ever have any, undertake any tactics like that.
None of us have heard of any concrete evidence that any church or minister was even approached with money, much less has received money.
The fact that it's possible under the law as it's presently written for this to occur is danger enough.
The Remains of the Day is more than one of the best films of the year. Anthony Hopkins' performance is one of the greatest acting achievements ever captured on film. The Remains of the Day, rated PG, at select theaters, starts Friday at additional theaters.
suffer from sinus pain and pressure, take Dristan Sinus. It contains ibuprofen with 40 million prescriptions, but combined at non-prescription strength with the decongestant doctors recommend most. Both are available in Dristan Sinus. It'll relieve pressure and ease sinus pain, all without drowsiness. Dristan Sinus, with 2 doctor-recommended medicines. And there is a full line of Dristan products that's right for you. Dristan.
Come back to the beauty of Kauai.
Fly United Airlines to Hawaii and rediscover Kauai.
Presidents, journalists, stars, and others relive memories of the Kennedy assassination. November 22nd, 1963. Where were you? A Larry King TNT special. Sunday at 8 Eastern on TNT. We're back on Larry King Live. We'll be going to your calls in a little while. We have a New York number tonight. It'll be on the screen. David Norcross, Republican National Committeeman, and RNC, the Republican National Committee General Counsel. Jim Andrews, campaign manager for Governor Jim Florio. He's in Chicago. And in Washington, Thomas Etzel, the national political reporter for the Washington Post. He covered the New Jersey race. He was at that breakfast. We've heard 2 sides of it, Thomas. What do you make of David's points and Jim's points?
I think, Larry, that maybe something a little more complex went on here. If you start looking at the election results in places like Newark and Trenton and other cities, the Democrats, in fact, have done a lousy job going into this campaign. The voter registration in minority communities, which is generally a heavily Democratic area, was way down. They had not paid attention to the kind of regular street work they needed to do. Well, I think there's one possibility that maybe the Republicans gave this money out. People took the money, and then they just did what they do normally. This has happened in politics routinely, where you sort of double-breast the situation.
I mean, you take the money and just don't do anything.
Or you take the money and you still go out and work. In the South, I must have heard Republican candidates and Republican managers complain bitterly. I paid money to this minister, I paid money to that minister, and they still came in 90-10 for the Democrat. I think the Republicans talk a lot of money and they don't know what they're doing with it.
Is this story, in your opinion, going to have legs?
Oh, it's got legs, and the real legs are that it's into the courts, and there's no way to get it out of the courts. And for the people involved in this, the truth, I think, is going to will out. There's no way around it because the threat of perjury. In all these kind of scandals, the actual offenses may be relatively minor. The real danger is a cover-up. That's what happens. Every scandal, the cover-up angle is the real killer.
Put ourselves in Ed's shoes, Tom. What can he say?
The truth. I mean, if he gets called before the grand jury, if he doesn't tell the truth, there are just too many people around who know reality.
And that's what you want him to do, David.
That's what I want him to do.
What if he gave out money unbeknownst to you?
Look, Tom has got his finger on what I think happened. If you look at, I hate to introduce facts to this situation. There have been precious few introduced, particularly by the Democrats in the last week. But if you look at Jersey City, New Brunswick, Trenton, Newark, and Patterson, you will see that in all of those cities, Christy Whitman got more votes than Jim Courter got. In all of those cities, Florio lost votes. She got votes. She didn't get vote for vote, every vote he lost, but she picked up votes in all of those cities, about 18,000 votes in all. One of the first things I said was, you can argue that she won this race in the cities. And I would argue, Jersey City, for instance, where we have a Republican mayor who was aggressively seeking Republican votes, I would argue that the money was spent properly to get out the vote, that we got out Christie's vote. She picks up 18,000 votes in the cities that Jim Courter didn't have. And look, she gets it because, first of all, she's for school vouchers. Secondly, she defended welfare mothers when Florio wanted to force them to divulge the fathers. She is for an income tax elimination for poor citizens who are making under $7,500. Why do we assume that minority voters don't understand that that platform is good for them and they vote for it?
Do you favor the investigation?
Absolutely, I favor the investigation.
And I understand Miss Whitman is going to be called.
I don't know whether she's going to be called or not. I guarantee if she's called, she'll be there.
She said today that the U.S. Attorney wants to talk to her.
She'll be there.
Okay, Jim, what do you make of what David said?
If the Republicans were so interested in the investigation, it was interesting why the Republicans went before the judge on Monday and tried to block it. That's the first question. The second question is, if Mrs. Whitman was going to get all these votes anyway, then why was it necessary for her press secretary, her brother, and her campaign manager all to talk about vote suppression? I mean, it frankly doesn't make any sense. But I think the fundamental issue here is really being missed, and why we started with the question as to why the story has legs, and that is because it gets to the core of American democracy. It's bad enough that voters these days are cynical about their political leaders and their institutions. What's going on now is, as a result of these kinds of revelations, people become cynical about the process itself and start to wonder whether or not their will is being thwarted by some odd and immoral and potentially illegal activity.
Let me get a break. We'll come back. We'll hear from a pastor of a prominent church in New Jersey, and we'll include your phone calls, then Pierce Brosnan. This is Larry King Live. Billy Joel tomorrow night. Don't go away.
I find this whole thing, everything that was alleged in the comments that he made, degrading to the voters of New Jersey, degrading to the African-American community, the African-American churches, and frankly to me. This is not the kind of behavior or attitude that I would in any way or in any time condone, and nothing like this ever happened.
When I became my own boss, I also became my own employee. So now he tells me to make coffee, open the mail, make sure the copier's working. So I checked around and people said get a Canon personal copier. Canon has a unique single cartridge that contains the toner, developer, drum, and virtually all the moving parts. Change the cartridge, and it's like getting a new copier. Buying it was such a good idea, I took him to lunch.
Canon personal copiers. Call 1-800-4321-HOP.
Time for holiday shopping again, and oh, the madness. The crowds and hassle at the mall. Who needs it? You've got the Lands' End catalog. Shop there. Everything from cashmere sweaters and rugged outerwear to soft luggage. Order anytime, day or night. If you don't have our catalog, call 1-800-LANDS' END and shop Lands' End. In your jammies, if you'd like.
Dreyfus. Each week, thousands of people call to find out about the Dreyfus Growth and Income Fund. This popular fund, managed by Dreyfus's chief economist, started in December 1991, and since then has grown beyond expectations. Why have so many people turned to Dreyfus Growth and Income? Performance. For the latest 12 months, Dreyfus Growth and Income significantly outperformed the average of all funds in its category. And since inception, the fund delivered an average annual total return of 19.64%. Bottom line, double the return of the S&P 500. And with Dreyfus Growth and Income, there's no sales load. For more information, a prospectus for Growth and Income, call 1-800-544-1589 and talk to the Lion. 1-800-544-1589. He's waiting.
Welcome back to Larry King Live. With us here in New York, David Norcross, Republican National Committeeman. In Chicago, Jim Andrews, campaign manager for Governor Florio. In Washington, Tom Etzel, national political reporter of the Washington Post. With us by phone is Reverend DeForest Soares. He is pastor of the First Baptist Church of Lincoln Gardens, Somerset, New Jersey, and he's spokesman for the General Baptist Convention of New Jersey. And any of our panel can ask him anything they wish, and I'll start. Reverend Soares, what do you make of this story?
Well, I think what troubles the pastors of New Jersey and much of the church and African-American community is that there is a presumption of participation in these kinds of political activities by black churches and black preachers. There seems to be a perception, prevailing perception, that black preachers in the main and or as a rule take money for political participation. And that is just not true.
All right, are you saying you were never approached?
I've never been approached. I've got 3,500 church members. I met with Mrs. Whitman, and I met with Governor Florio. I was never approached first hand, second hand, third hand, or fourth hand. I spoke with Mr. Rollins on October the 14th. And further, it's hard to keep a $500,000 rumor a secret in New Jersey or anywhere else. And I would argue that in a densely populated state like ours, with no more than 1,500 churches, 700 with more than 100 members, it would be difficult for $500,000 to be circulating.
When you spoke with Mr. Rollins, what was it about?
I called him because I had read the statement in the paper. I had read a copy of his retraction, and my concern was that his retraction was vague, although his statement and assertion had been quite explicit.
What did he say to you?
What he said was it was hastily put together, and that no minister received any money. And frankly, my only interest in this discussion is, on the one hand, the protection of the integrity and honor of black churches. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure we understand that the decimation of the credibility of black churches is chaos and havoc for urban America, black America, and all of America.
But Ed Rollins told you that nothing was spent on any black churchmen at all.
Exactly. Told me in explicit terms. I asked him the question. He answered the question. He told me that he got caught up in a Carvillian-type political hype. The problem we have, Larry, is that on the one hand, we want to defend the honor of the institution we call the black church. On the other hand, there are so many of us in our gut who feel that the American political process has now stooped to such a low level of enterprise that it is neither above the Democrats or the Republicans to participate in this kind of clandestine activity.
Right.
And
Tom, hold it, one at a time. Tom, first, do you have any questions for Reverend Sorey?
When Ed spoke, he didn't say that he paid money directly to a minister or a priest. It wasn't a payoff or a bribe. He said that money was given to the favorite charity or for an activity.
Hold on, Reverend, let him finish the question before you answer.
It wasn't described as in the same sense as a bribe or a payoff to the individual pastor. It was described as a contribution made to a charitable entity that the church or pastor would support.
I see. Reverend?
Did you discuss that possibility with him?
I asked him if he did what he said he did, and he said no. The point is, the inference...
He said he did not give...
Is that his contact with the churches was through the pastors. He said he met with ministers who said that they supported Florio, and he said, I know you support Florio, but when you get in the pulpit, and that was directly targeted at the minister of the church.
Okay, do you have a question, Jim?
Well, I don't have a question, but I must say that I understand the Reverend's pain, and I think the pain goes beyond the African-American church into the entire electorate. And I think that's precisely why we need a full and complete investigation of every allegation that's been made here.
David, do you have a question for the Reverend?
Reverend, in view, I don't know whether you heard me before, but I was talking about some of Governor-elect Whitman's programs, elimination of income tax for people with incomes under $7,500, her defense of welfare mothers, her support of vouchers for private schools. Does that not seem to you that those are things which could well attract votes from the minority community? I mean, on their own.
I think it's an insult to black voters to suggest that the only reason the voter turnout for Jim Florio was low was because black preachers sold them out.
So do I.
The fact of the matter is, black New Jerseyans, A, have learned how to vote Republican. 61% of the African Americans voted for Tom Kean. B, African Americans were not overly excited about the candidacy of Jim Florio, but C, African Americans are very difficult to mobilize with great interest around any candidate because of a perception that the system is failing them. So Jim, in large measure, I do agree. Now, the interesting thing, though, on that platform was that the Republicans did take a very proactive posture, for instance, even before the gubernatorial campaign, on the issue of public housing. In New Jersey, the Republican state legislature supported having public housing tenants serve on housing authorities. The Democrats opposed it. However, I would also argue, Jim, that the majority of the African-American community, I can't speak with authority, but my gut feeling is that we were probably supportive of Governor Florio's conservative stance more so than we were Mrs. Whitman's more liberal stance on that specific welfare issue. But
Tom,
the fact does remain, Larry, that Norcross is correct, that blacks, according to all polls, are more conservative than the media gives them credit for being,
Tom,
and
do you have
certainly much less monolithic and much more independent.
Tom, do you have another question?
I was just wondering, did the pastor support Whitman or Florio?
I endorse the governor.
Florio.
Endorse Governor Florio. Yeah. Thank you very much, Reverend Stories. Thanks for joining us. We're going to take a break and come back and go to phone calls for Thomas Etzel, David Norcross, and Jim Andrews on this Deepening the Story with Legs, the New Jersey governor's race, a story that won't go away. And then we'll meet Pierce Brosnan, who stars in a movie that's guaranteed, at least if anything is guaranteed in Movieville, to be a major hit this holiday season, in which Robin Williams does Tootsie. We'll be right back.
If it is true, then it was terribly wrong for anyone to give money to anybody else not to vote or to depress voter turnout. And it was terribly wrong for anyone to accept that money to render that non-service to this country.
When we claim the new Norelco razor shaves closer than ever, without hundreds of tests to back it up, say our new Precision Groove helps the Norelco lift and cut system shave closer without proof? No. We wouldn't say it's our closest shave ever without science, sensors, tests. But of all the tests that prove it's closer, the most convincing requires a personal touch. The new Norelco razors, our closest shave ever.
Ever wonder what happens to your initial investment when you buy certain mutual funds through a broker and pay front-end fees? Well, by the time they charge you sales loads and account fees, it's actually costing you hundreds of dollars before you start. But now there's a better way. At Charles Schwab, you can choose from 200 well-known no-load mutual funds with proven track records.
You pay no loads and no transaction fees.
So if you want all of your money to work for you,
maybe it's time to come to Schwab.
You're kidding. The heat's off on Saturday? I can't get a copy of Fixed on Saturday. That's helpful.
Technical support is closed on Saturday and...
Please send up some coffees.
UPS introduces Saturday Pickup.
You'll pick up the package?
With guaranteed tracking and guaranteed air delivery by 10:30 a.m. Monday.
Great.
Coffee.
All for less than our competitors.
How you doing?
Hi.
Finally, something on Saturday.
Iced coffee.
Guaranteed to go right. UPS.
This week in the NBA, so packed with highlights and features, it was almost too big for one 30-minute show. So we squeezed it into Sunday on CNN.
For the sound that blows you away. Audio equipment from Sansui. Sound serious.